Hi there folks, and welcome to the first video in this course in Design Fundamentals in Learning Resources. This video is going to be covering the first learning objective, opening a document, and we're going to get started right now. When you first open InDesign, you'll be presented with this little infographic and a little blue button that says Create New. Now if you can't see this for whatever reason, you can also create a new document in the left-hand side up here. Click Create New for me. And then you're going to be presented with this array of information, which is basically asking you, what do you want to create? We have a couple of preset options here on the right-hand side, mobile, web, and print. And we can go through these now in a little bit of detail. If you click on View All Presets, you can actually see several of the other options available to you. And in the case of mobile, you can see various brands and particular models of devices. If you click on the web layout and click on View All Presets, you can see a couple of the resolutions of computer screens and devices if you're intending purely to develop your resource for the laptop or desktop computer. If you were only intending to develop your resource for print, it might be printed out on a printer or made into a book, then in the print option, you can see all of the presets available to you, such as A5, A4, A3, business cards, and so forth. Okay, we're going to use the print option for this video just to cover off some of the other things that are important for print. First thing to do is to name your document. The next thing we're going to cover is the units. Now, depending on where you are, where you live, which company you work for, or even your personal preference, you can change the units of your document that you're working in. As you're changing, note how a couple of the features are changing with it as you move along. Now, I'm going to work in millimeters purely because I'm comfortable knowing what that size is and what that size is to the naked eye. The next thing we can change is the orientation of our document, portrait or landscape. And the feature facing pages is another option we can select or deselect. Now, if you're intending to have content going from the left page to the right page, you might want to have a diagram that rolls into the middle, or if you want your page numbers to be on the right-hand side on the right-hand pages, and the left-hand side on the left-hand pages, you would keep facing pages selected. If you're creating a report where you want to have clear information on each page, you don't mind if the page number is only on one hand side, I would deselect facing pages. Just easier to work with. You can then choose the number of pages you'd like to have. So I might choose 10, and you can choose which page you'd like to start working on. We're going to start on page 1. The next thing we're going to look at is the columns and the column gutter. Now the gutter is the space between the columns. So if you're choosing, say, 3 columns in your document and you want to have a nice space between them, you can increase that column gutter. If you're wanting to have, say, 5 columns, but you want to have a really small space between them, you might be able to change your column gutter down there as well to suit. So I normally work with 2 columns, and I normally have a gutter of about 5 or 6 millimeters. The next thing we're going to look at is the margins. So the margins are these little sort of pink boundaries in your document, and we can choose to make them larger, which means the margin will come into the page, or smaller, which means the margin will go to the edge of the page. Now, if you want to only alter the top or bottom margin, or left and right, you can unclick this little link, it breaks the link, and then you can choose to have narrower margins or greater margins in your document. Bleed and slug. What is bleed first? Well, if you're going to send this document to a printer, they're going to ask you to apply bleed to your document. Now what that means is, if you've got any photos or images or graphs or something that goes off the page and you'd like to print it so it goes right to the edge, you need to apply a bleed to your document. So if I had a photo and I wanted it to be right on the edge of the page when it's printed, I'd have to align the photo to this bleed margin here. That's all bleed is. It's basically where the printer will cut off the image. Slug. Now slug is not a creepy crawly creature in the garden, it's actually the area that provides the information to the printer. So if I wanted to have the title page, the colour, the margins as well, I would need to apply a slug to the document. So this is truly information for the print press, and unless you're really serious about printing your books, you're not really going to have to apply a slug to your document. That's all for this video. Now you can work on the guided practice with your partner and talk about why you chose the decisions to make the document that you did. Best of luck, and we'll move on to the next video, setting up guides in a document.